What is the one thing that you can do right away to immediately improve your public speaking, presentations, and pitches? It's actually really super simple. You just need to slow down. You see, the vast majority of people speak way too quickly when they are presenting to an audience. When we're engaged in dialogue, we generally speak pretty quickly because there's a collaborative dimension. I speak, then you speak, then she speaks, and so on and so forth. If someone doesn't get what you said, or if you don't get what they said, you can interrupt them and ask them to repeat it or reformulate it. When you're making a presentation, giving a speech, doing a pitch, you and you alone carry the sole responsibility for making sure that the audience is on board with you the whole way through. Speaking slowly is particularly important if you are presenting technical information, because the cognitive load, the processing power that your audience's brains need to engage to understand what you're saying is higher than if you were presenting something non-technical. Let's take a look now at a clip from the science channel Veritasium, where the presenter Derek Muller is explaining why commercial airliners fly at 10,000 meters or 30,000 feet. Notice how slowly and carefully he's moving through the technical explanation.
The air up there is unbreathable.
If you were suddenly teleported to the top of Mount Everest, a height lower than planes fly, you would remain conscious for only about 3 minutes. This is because in addition to density dropping with altitude, so does air pressure. Air pressure actually falls off faster because it depends on the weight of all the air above you. So at 10 kilometers, the air pressure is only a quarter of what it is at sea level.
So it makes sense to slow things down to minimize the risk of leaving somebody behind. There are 3 main components to this. The first is to slow down your average speed. So you slow down the number of syllables per second that are coming out of your mouth. So to give you an example, our system can handle 1,000 queries per second. Our system can handle 1,000 queries per second. So in the first example, I'm speaking quite quickly, and the second example, I'm just slowing down the syllable rate. The second aspect of speaking more slowly is to use what we call chunking. Chunking means that you break a sentence down into small, manageable pieces. Chunking is another way to give your audience space and time to mentally process what you have just said. So for example, our system, chunk 1, can handle chunk 2, 1,000 queries, chunk 3, per second, chunk 4. So in this case, we've broken it down into 4 pieces, into 4 chunks. The third aspect of speaking more slowly is to make effective use of pauses. See what I did there? Pauses don't just slow things down, pauses give your audience time to contemplate. So for example, if you've just delivered a particularly fascinating fact, then you might want to pause. Or if you've just delivered some very important news, then you might want to pause for a moment or two to let it sink in. So just to recap quickly, speaking slowly is not just about slowing down the syllables. It's also about chunking, breaking it down into smaller, manageable pieces, and making effective use of pausing. Now let's take a look at a clip from way back in 2010, where Steve Jobs was presenting the iPad for the first time. Notice how he makes use of all 3 of the principles that we've covered so far in this video.
I chuckled when I saw this. But before we get to that, I want to go back to 1991, when Apple announced and shipped its first PowerBooks. This was the first modern laptop computer.
Now, speaking slowly isn't just good for your audience, it's good for you too. When you speak more slowly, it gives you more time and space to connect your thoughts with your words. You're much less likely to get distracted, to stumble, to and You're going to feel more calm, you're going to feel more confident, and you will look more calm and more confident. If you take a look at the vast majority of successful public speakers, they speak slowly, or at least they speak more slowly than average when they are speaking in front of an audience. There are a few rare exceptions to this rule, but the vast majority of very good public speakers speak pretty slowly. Now, speaking slowly doesn't mean that you're slowing down to the same slow speed all the way through. No. If you do that, then your audience will feel patronized and they might feel bored. The point is that your average speed should be lower than it would be in a regular everyday interaction. So you slow down the average speed by decreasing the syllables per second, by making more use of chunking, and by making use of pauses. If you're speaking in a very large space or in front of a very large audience, a few hundred people or even a few thousand, it's even more important to speak slowly, because in a very large space, you will get reverb effects. It will take a bit longer for your words to reach the back of the room. And because you're talking to more people, there's more potential for some people to get left behind. So slow it down even more. If you look at politicians making speeches in front of enormous crowds, for example, on inauguration day or whatever, then you'll find that they will generally speak slowly, they will pause a lot and let their words sink in. Leaders tend to speak slowly because they expect the audience to take the time to listen to what they have to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, visitors of Vegas, nerds and lovers of tech. I'm here to talk about three things: innovation, values, and hope for the next generation.
Of course, you need to read the room. If people seem like they're getting a bit bored or distracted, you can always speed up. You need to be able to react in real time to how the audience are responding to you. If they're starting to look at their watches and stuff, then yeah, you probably want to speed it up a bit. So that's about it for today. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this interesting and useful. If you did, please give it a like, give it a share, and consider subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know down below. Or if you have any requests for videos like this that you would like me to make in the future, also let me know. I'm also available for talks and workshops, so if that is something that you or your organization would find interesting, get in touch and we'll see what we can do. Thanks again, and see you next time.